Hello everyone, welcome to Education Redesign. Education Redesign is a global non-profit organization dedicated to improving education and openly propagating its recommendations, frameworks, curricula, coursework and professional development on a worldwide basis via answering the question why, what and how education in the age of AI. ER endeavors to explore at the crossroads of education, technology, economy, society, human behavior, philosophy, and curriculum innovation to understand the essential shifts needed to prepare learners for a world driven by artificial intelligence. Its focus on relevance in education brings together international organizations, jurisdictions, academic institutions, corporations, and other non-profit organizations like ourselves. Therefore, the core focus of our institution, Education Redesign, is to answer this question of how and what and why should education exist or be, or how it will be in the coming age of AI. Our quest is to understand the causality between education and economy and society. And it is a fact that all through human civilization, right from Stone Age to agricultural revolution, through industrial revolution, to the digital era that we have seen or going through, to the next coming AI, new technologies have always determined the economy and society. And in turn, this determined the type of education system that we should have. So, given the new technologies that we are on the verge of transformation due to AI, what should be the education system? How should it be? And why should it be the way it is? This is the biggest question we are trying to answer here. And in this context, I have our guest today, Dr. Professor Aswani Volety, Chancellor of University of North Carolina, Wilmington, with us. And we're going to ask a few questions, and I think he'll enlighten us on how to go about how he's conducting himself there, as well as the future that he envisions. Let me give you a brief about Dr. Volety. Chancellor Aswani Volety is an experienced leader in higher education with deeply rooted connection to UNCW. Has served as the university's 7th Chancellor since July 1st, 2022. He brings experience to UNCW as a faculty member, researcher, and administrator. Previously, he served as a provost and vice president for academic affairs at Elon University, dean of the former College of Arts and Science at UNCW, and an executive director of the UNCW Center for Marine Sciences. He also held roles at Florida Gulf Coast University as professor of marine science, director of Western Marine Field Station, and later served as interim dean of FGCU's College of Arts and Science. He is the recipient of a Fulbright Fellowship to France and a graduate of American Association for State Colleges and Universities and University's Millennium Leadership Initiative. He currently serves as the president of the National Shell Fisheries Association, and he is a member of the North Carolina Biotechnology Center Board of Directors. He and his wife, Ai Ning Lo, and her 2 children, Uma and Mia. Let us now start the podcast with Chancellor Aswani. Aswani, welcome to ER.
Thank you.
And you must be going through this question in all the locations wherever you go through.
Yeah.
Why, what, and how education in the age of AI? So let's start. Given AI, why should students learn anything?
Wow, that is a great question. Right now, we are in a very exciting phase. AI is scary and at the same time very exciting. Right? AI can generate a lot of information, perhaps even knowledge, but it's not wisdom. Right? Our life shapes who we are not what we know, right? With artificial intelligence of various sorts, you can generate enormous amounts of information, perhaps even create presentations, etc. But it lacks the human nature. It lacks the empathy. It lacks understanding of the world. It lacks the context in which we all operate, right? So AI gives you the information. It doesn't tell you how to use it, right? Also, artificial intelligence generates a lot of information based on whatever is out there. You don't really know what is a fact versus what is a fiction. AI could even be making up a lot of stuff. There are many instances where AI gets very creative and comes up with answers that you're looking for, right? So the goal is to look at the information that the AI generates, but use that information to interact with individuals and organizations, keeping in mind the human values and ethics and empathy and so on and so forth. So while AI is very important and perhaps even essential going forward, you really need to bring it into the human context and the human perspective.
So there are a lot of predictions going on right now, where they say that AI is going to evolve and get consciousness or become conscious,
Yeah.
or become self-aware in the future. And if it becomes self-aware and it's got all the data knowledge of the world with it, is education still going to be relevant? Educating children? Or should we just train them to use AI?
Well, remember, AI is exciting, but I don't know if AI will come up with self-awareness or human empathy and human level of thinking. It could. It is far out into the future. We don't really know.
Okay.
But what we do know is now and what we need in the near future. Right? So what we need to make sure is that people understand artificial intelligence, the pros and cons of the information it generates, but more importantly, discern what is fact versus fiction. And last point, learn how to use this information in a societal context, right? We're not just working with machines, we're working with people, we're interacting with people. We are humans, we have feelings, we have empathy, right? So you cannot focus on the knowledge and the information or data, for that matter, in the lack of the human context. So at least in the near future, yes, of course, everybody should learn AI, and I'll elaborate on that point in a second. But more importantly, we got to see how do we use AI in a broader societal context, right? For example, like I said, knowledge is not wisdom, right? You might generate a lot of knowledge, but knowing how to use it in the right context. For example, ethics, society. We're not trying to replace humans. We're trying to make sure AI is going to make our lives easier, make our lives more productive, so that we can focus on the things that we as humans do well, which is creativity, right? But at the same time, you also want to make sure that AI is not the domain of select few individuals, whether it is in a country or in the world. You want to make sure everybody is familiar with AI, and some of them will be a lot more adept at AI, very similar to education, right? In my mind, AI today is what computers were at some point in time, and then the internet, and now you have the artificial intelligence. Just like today, back then there was a lot of angst whether computers will replace humans. Will the jobs go away? In fact, that hasn't happened. There are more jobs now than there were before.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was concern whether There'll be cheating. Will we learn? Will we rely on the internet to get information without thinking through? Those things do happen a little bit, but now internet is ubiquitous. You can't imagine our lives without internet, right? Google and others have become synonymous with web search, right? So we haven't really displaced humans, but we found a way to harness that wisdom and take that information to make our lives better, to make everybody's lives better. My hope is that AI is going to serve a similar role. Now the information gathering, synthesis, the data, the amount of knowledge we get is enormous. But how do we use that knowledge in a wise manner to help everybody? I think that is a challenge for us going forward. Right? Some of the things that I want to talk about are AI should be democratized. Everybody should have some understanding about AI, the pros and cons. And B, we had to make sure that AI is used in an ethical manner. That it is very easy to slip into exploiting individuals, exploiting societies, organizations, etc. But ethics is very critical. And B, we can't lose touch as to who we are. We are humans. We are empathetic social individuals, right? Now, we want to make sure that as we are gaining so much information and knowledge and data, we don't lose track of who we are as a society and as humans.
Very good. Thank you. See, the last major changes in the historical education system took place in the 18th century. In response to sudden growth in societal and human capital needs due to the Industrial Revolution. Humans were trained to use machines for mass production. In the 21st century, a lot has transformed with digital as well as now the coming age of AI. There is no resemblance to the 19th century. But still, the education system is rooted in the 19th century. Things have changed.
Yeah.
How do you think education should evolve going forward?
It is true. To a certain extent, we are training students for the problems we had or we currently have, and probably less so thinking about the problems we are likely to have in the future, right? When you look at the education system in the 19th century, a lot of progress has been made that is built on the information that we had in the 17th and 18th century, right? When you look at today's education, a lot of the information, knowledge, and wisdom we have is built on what we learned in the 19th century or the 20th century. Hopefully, in the 21st century and going forward, we are going to build on these things. But we also have certain tools that we didn't have before. Right, so that is the exciting part. But the pace at which the artificial intelligence is evolving, think about when AI started and how quickly it arose and how many people are using. It is mind-boggling. It is also a bit scary because the unknown, is it going to replace me? I don't know the answer, but I do know that we had to do things differently, right? A lot of the things that were done manually are automated. No different than when computers were here, for example, right? You used to do a lot of things by hand. Computers came and it accelerated the productivity. Did some individuals lose their employment? Yes, they did, right? But it also created other opportunities. So while the artificial intelligence before and now the generative AI, generative artificial intelligence, where it is taking all the information that is out there, scans the web, good or bad, and comes up with things that we didn't think were possible. It doesn't make it right? It is garbage in and garbage out. It takes the information that is out there and generates the output. If the information out there is faulty or inaccurate, you get an inaccurate picture of those things. right? So, but that is why education is critical to discern what is right or what is wrong, and making sure that the information that is produced is accurate and we are using it in an ethical and productive manner. Right. So when you think about artificial intelligence, what it's able to do today, there is no profession on earth that it is not going to touch. Before, you used to think that the automation of industrial production, as you mentioned, displaced some individuals with jobs, which is true. But it also created other ones, other opportunities, like I mentioned. And with artificial intelligence, it's not just the blue-collar work, it is also the white-collar work. But it also creates other opportunities that it is going to enhance our lives, for example. I had a chance to visit the headquarters of NVIDIA last year.
Okay.
And as a scientist, it hit me hard because when you are a biologist or a chemist and trying to develop a drug, you're looking at the protein sequence of molecules you think that might be effective against certain disease, certain pathogen, and so on and so forth. And you're designing you take this sequence of amino acids or a protein, looking at the three-dimensional structure of the protein, and create a drug that interacts with this three-dimensional structure. And to do all these things, it used to take years and years, and multiple people. Now you input the amino acid sequence, in less than 30 seconds it comes up with the three-dimensional structure of the molecule, and you're already creating some drugs that you can test out on a computer to see how it works. At least now you're not talking about 1,000 permutation combinations. Perhaps you're narrowing down the number of the combinations you might want to test in a lab and on live organisms, right? So essentially condensed the time. So drugs will be produced a lot quicker. The drugs could be customized for individuals. So there are a lot of other exciting opportunities too. While it comes at a cost of certain jobs, it also creates other jobs. And so the goal for us as a society is to be prepared for this disruption, but train the individuals that might encounter these disruptions in employment and train them to use the AI. Exactly. I talk to my daughter all the time that AI is not going to replace you. It is the individual who knows how to use the AI is going to replace you, right? So the goal is to kind of be on the front end of the curve. The goal is for everybody to understand what AI can do, what it's producing, and see how to best use that information in a productive manner. That's what we should be driving towards. That is when you see huge gains in productivity. And if used in the right manner, ethically, it can result in tremendous societal benefit. So I think that is a challenge we got to navigate.
So just till now, what you mean is we need to audit whatever whatever AI spews out. Number two, we need to have some guardrails. And number three, as you mentioned, we are going to have to collaborate.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a complement rather than a substitute.
Absolutely.
AI is not going to substitute humans.
Right.
Humans have to work in complement with AI.
Yes.
So these are the three guidelines that you put forward till now. So given that, what knowledge and skills should be prioritized in the curricula in the AI era?
That's a great question. When people think about artificial intelligence, they're primarily focused on the technical skills. You're thinking coding, you're thinking about enormous amounts of data that is being generated, etc. But while you do need the technical skills, it has to be supplemented with the essential skills, what I call, right? We are using this information to benefit all of us. That involves critical thinking, right? The first point that you made. It is generating a lot of information. Is it accurate? Does it make sense? Right? How do you make use of it? Right? That is the critical thinking part of it. And collaborative learning, right? We operate as a group in a society, we're not by ourselves, right? How do we work with each other? How do we navigate that space? The communication skills. It might generate a lot of information, but can you synthesize that information? Can you critically think? Can you apply that knowledge? And can you communicate that knowledge to people, right? So these are the ones that a very good liberal arts education provides you. The basic, before it used to be called soft skills, I like to call it essential skills. Critical thinking, collaboration, communication, whether it is written or verbal, so on and so forth. So it is the and proposition. Of course, you need to have some technical understanding, but you also need to have the essential skills. It is not just this or just that, you need both of them going forward.
So basically, it's more important to ask the questions, right questions.
Exactly.
Than finding
the
the
right
answers.
questions is the focus, right?
Exactly.
The question is to know how to ask the right questions.
Exactly. Good, very good. So how can, what are the long-term implications of AI on the teacher's role? Will it evolve into something else entirely different?
Absolutely. I want to revert back to one of the comments I made. There is no profession on earth that AI will not impact. That includes my job and that includes your job. Right? As a faculty member, before I got into my current role as the Chancellor, I was a researcher, I was a teacher working with students. I'll use 3 different examples. Right? Take a lawyer, for example. You're going to a lawyer. Lawyer was the content expert. Lawyer knew what the precedents were in terms of what court cases were used to justify certain outcomes, rationale, arguments, and so on and so forth. While a lawyer might be brilliant, you cannot compete with the artificial intelligence in terms of how quickly it can scan the entire web, collect that information, and even synthesize it and come out with a cogent argument. Right? So, do I really need a lawyer? Well, the short answer is yes, still, yes. But it may not be in the traditional sense of creating the papers or creating the forms and so on and so forth. The lawyer's role might be to look at all the information and brainstorm with you as to what might be the best route or alternative for you given your unique circumstances, right? So therefore the lawyer is not spending a lot of time doing routine work in terms of creating the papers, scanning the webs and so on and so forth, but really interacting with you on a one-on-one human level, right? No different than a doctor. Doctor was the content expert looking at the symptoms, trying to make an assessment as to what the ailment or the illness was, and based on the information that he or she has, perhaps prescribe a drug. As expert as the doctor is, he or she may not be equipped to think about all the drug interactions, knowing your history or perhaps even your family history, drug-to-drug interactions and so on and so forth, and come up with something. Perhaps they may. But now the computer is able to do it seamlessly in no time, right? So the question is, do I still need a doctor?
Right.
But the thing is, now the role has shifted to not necessarily being the content expert, but now that we have narrowed down the diagnosis as to what the ailment is, I might brainstorm with you, or might think out with you as to what the potential options are, and perhaps how to communicate, what are the pros and cons of each things, and how do we take care of your family situation given the circumstance, etc. Again, it goes back to the human-to-human connection, human interactions, that is built on the enormous information or data that AI is producing. No different than faculty, because you're talking about education redesign. Let me bring you back to that. For example, I am a faculty member. To date, I am the content expert in my area, but it happens to be marine science or chemistry or biology or philosophy, right? Doesn't matter. So right now, I went through a lot of training, read a lot of papers, did a lot of research, have some idea about the content or content area I'm talking about, and I'm communicating that to the students. As much as I'd like to think that I'm the content expert, AI can do all those things in no time, right? So I am no longer the content expert because a machine can do it far better than I do in terms of synthesizing and generating the information.
Correct.
But how do I transmit that information to you and create wisdom or create knowledge, right? So that is what the faculty role will be in terms of tending to the student and looking at how they learn and communicating the information in a way that they can access, and making sure the dialogue or the conversation is going in a productive manner amongst the group of students in the classroom, and creating new knowledge or creating wisdom. Again, it goes back to the human to human interaction. And so that's why I wanted to say that yes, there is some technical skills, technical knowledge that is necessary, but end of the day, the essential skills or the soft skills, or whatever language you want to use, the liberal arts education becomes even more important than it is today, because it supplements and adds on to what we currently know. So it builds on the technical skills, but overlays the human elements, the emotions, the empathy, so on and so forth, in creating a more harmonious society to be more productive, right? And so it doesn't matter whether you're a journalist or whether you're a professor, lawyer, doctor, you're no longer the content expert. So the paradigm will shift to supporting the human needs of the individual. I suspect that is how AI will lead, and that is how we could interact with AI to be more productive.
So what you're basically saying is all the routine aspects of any profession, whether it's medical, education, legal, entertainment, the routine things would be standardized, can be done by AI.
That's correct.
Faster, and because of the memory it has.
Yeah.
Whereas the critical thinking part, the emotional part, the empathy part, the wisdom part is still left to humans.
That's correct.
Right?
That is my best guess.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
At this point.
That's enlightening. Now, again, the next question I would like to pose is, how do you assess learning in the age of AI, where traditional exams can easily be bypassed by tools?
Absolutely. That is a wonderful thing. Yeah. That actually we are dealing with right now in our classes. Right. Traditionally, it could be that we talk about a content area, pick a topic in history, right? We go through it, and then we ask a student to write a 5-page essay on Peloponnesian War, right? We were assuming that the individuals were scouring the books, looking at vast amounts of information, critically thinking, synthesizing it, and using good written skills. You're writing a paper. But AI can do all those things right now. So as a faculty member, I had to move away from content creation to application, right? I can't rely on. Of course, we can always say we can always use some computer tools to detect whether individual has used AI to generate the paper or something. But the point is not how the student got that data or the information, but how are you going to use it, right? And therefore, the way we test students, it cannot be multiple choice. It cannot be pick a number, X page paper. So it is not necessary that we're assessing the written skills as submitted by the paper, perhaps generated by AI. So the faculty members have to think, a ChatGPT or whichever tool you use. So the information has to be different, right? It could be that go use whatever tools you have to come up with the content, but communicate to me and apply that information to make a cogent argument. Perhaps it could be a presentation. Perhaps it could be application of the data or information to solve a problem, right? It is the application of the knowledge that is more critical, and that is what we got to focus on going forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. Students should have self-assessment on outcomes, based on outcomes. They should be able to solve problems or articulate solutions.
That's correct.
Or critically think beyond.
Yes.
They can use whatever tools they have.
Right.
And AI can only facilitate them by using a facilitator rather than
Right.
An assessment.
Yeah.
Okay,
AI
wonderful.
is very helpful in bringing information from any variety of sources. The role for the student becomes making sure that the source of information is from a reputable source, and using enormous amounts of data, perhaps think critically to see how this data might fit in solving the problem, right? And it's the application of the knowledge or the data into solving societal problems or the problem at hand. That should be the focus of the assessment, not whether an individual can produce a report or write a 5-page paper.
Got it. Wonderful. So the last question, who should be responsible for setting the guardrails for AI in education? Is it the governments? Is it educators? Is it tech companies, or is it the students?
Honestly, it's everybody working together, because everybody controls a piece of the puzzle. When you think about the government, as somebody who's making policies that affects everybody's life, your life and my life included, they need to set up some guardrails, right? But at the same time, you also don't want to impede the creativity that is provided by educators or students, enabled by tech companies, for example, right? Because in this case, everybody is providing a piece of the puzzle. So I think there should be a very strong collaboration, perhaps, if not oversight, guardrails provided by the government, especially making sure that the AI or the information is used ethically, not to benefit the select few individuals, but society as a whole, right? Enabled by the tech industry in terms of providing whether it is the software solutions, hardware solutions, etc. And the faculty or the educators had to serve as the facilitators and mentors. And of course, the students are brilliant. They think differently. They think outside of the box. But beyond that, this is our future. We are training them, right? And so I think there is a part for every one of these groups to play in making sure that we are using these tools, very exciting tools and scary tools at the same time, to make sure that it is benefiting the society as a whole.
So I think you have answered most of our questions for today. We will be, getting back to you with more set of questions down the line. And thank you, Chancellor Aswani. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Pleasure mine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for what you're
doing. And for the audience, you could see this interview or the podcast on www.educationredesign.org. It's educationredesign.org. Okay, thank you.